In a battle royale to determine the rankings of second-year Pandoras, Satellizer Bridget, also known as the Untouchable Queen, is the strongest ranked Pandora. During class, teacher Yumi Kim talks about her experiences as a Pandora during the last war against the extra-dimensional aliens called Nova, in which one battle against a powerful Nova was ultimately won thanks to the sacrifice of her squadmate, Kazuha AI. Meanwhile, Kazuha's brother, Kazuya, is transported to West Genetics Academy by student president Chiffon Fairchild and is given a rundown about the nature of Pandoras and limiters. The Rainbar is a neural system that controls one of 5 senses, and during battle, Pandora and her limiter can synchronize their Rainbar into one. Its rate is highest when the limiter is a younger boy. The act of Pandora and limiter synchronizing their senses is called the Rainbar set. This is used to neutralize Nova's freezing area with their own freezing. As battles with Novas involve death, even so, they have to fight just like his sister did. Yumi recounts how her team of Pandoras exposed Type S Nova's core, but its counterattack left many wounded or dead. Yumi even lost an arm. With medics retrieving them, Yumi saw Kazuha sacrificing her life to destroy Nova's core. Kazuya arrives at West Genetics and is greeted by Student Council Officer Taisi Phenile when suddenly a blast within a building occurs. Satellizer is in a battle against the second-ranked Pandora, Gainessa Roland, but Kazuya mistakes her for his late sister and hugs her, provoking an embarrassing reaction from her and leaving her open to attack. Because of Kazuya's interference, Satellizer lost the battle against Gainessa, who is now the #1 ranked second-year Pandora. Kazuya wants to apologize to Satellizer, but Chiffon advises him against it due to Satellizer's fear of being touched and her lashing out on anyone who does. Soon, Satellizer arrives, and Kazuya tries to apologize. Despite Kazuya holding her arm, Satellizer does nothing but tell him to leave her alone. Just then, an arrogant Gainessa arrives and insults her, saying she should retire forever and forget about reclaiming her queen title. However, Gainessa still wants to challenge her now to see who is really #1, even if this is against the regulations for Pandoras to fight outside Carnival. Gainessa deploys her Volt weapon, Chains of Binding, and attacks. But Satellizer was just cool, and she didn't even move much to send Gainessa to a crashing defeat. When Satellizer manages to knock her down, Gainessa goes into Pandora mode, proceeding to beat and torture Satellizer. Kazuya tries to stop the fight, but Gainessa slaps him away, causing Satellizer to go into Pandora mode as well. She breaks loose from the chains, and in the final face-off, all it takes is a single strike from Satellizer to defeat Gainessa. Before Satellizer can finish her off, Kim and Medical Officer Elise Schmitz arrive to stop the fight, and they punish both girls by putting them in the brig. Principal Sister Margaret gives Kazuya his dorm key and advises him about the pairing between Pandora and her limiter, which is left to the choices of each person in question. Kazuya finds his roommate, Arthur, who is Gainessa's limiter. He wanted to ask about Satellizer but was told not to get involved with her because she doesn't even use a limiter. Meanwhile, a Pandora named Miyabi Kanazuki takes an interest in Kazuya and wants to make him her newest limiter. After introducing himself to his class and having lunch with class representative Kao Hiragi, she mentions she saw him standing up for Satellizer, and though he still feels guilty for causing her to lose the carnival, she advises him not to get involved with her. But Kazuya is upset that she is saying bad things about people she doesn't even know much about. Speaking of Satellizer, she comes into the cafeteria and everyone just runs away like they saw a ghost. Kazuya sees Satellizer and decides to apologize to her properly, but she drops her food and runs away. He finds her on the rooftop, and through their conversations, he is glad to find that she is a shy and nice person. Both Arthur and Kao are shocked to find that Kazuya can talk to her normally. However, third-year Pandora Miyabi and her 3 limiters arrive. Miyabi offers Kazuya to be her limiter, but when he rejects, she threatens Kazuya, which prompts Satellizer to raise her weapon against Miyabi. Miyabi feels she's been underestimated and will show her the different levels between a second and third year. She uses her Volt weapon, Homing Dagger, followed by her high-speed Excel Turn, but to everyone's surprise, Satellizer can also do that. Excel Turn is a curriculum only thought of for third-year students. Miyabi goes crazy when Satellizer scratches her face. She orders her limiters to do the Rainbar set and sets upon them a freezing area. However, Satellizer can jump out of it, but she sees Kazuya stuck and goes back to get him. In that instance, she got stabbed by the homing daggers. Miyabi is going to teach her a lesson for scarring her face. As Miyabi and her limiters humiliate and harass Satellizer, Kazuya activates his freezing powers to stop them. By the time Kim, Elise, and Chiffon arrive to stop the fight, Satellizer has brutally beaten Miyabi and her limiters and is about to deliver a deadly blow when Kazuya pleads with her to stop, which she does. Later, Kim and Elise learn the secrets of Kazuya's abilities. The number of stigmata that can mature within a Pandora's body is between 2 and 4. However, Kazuya's body was exceptional and was able to mature over 20 stigmata. Though males cannot mature stigmata or there is no need for it, Kazuya's body has a 30% skeletal structure composed of stigmata tissue. Whether or not he knows it, perhaps that's why the government and genetics knew about this before enrolling him here. Chiffon warns him again to stay away from Satellizer because she is now the target of the other third years, who do not take lightly those who disrespect the Academy's hierarchy. Satellizer has been released from solitary confinement after a week, but trouble greets her again. Ingrid, the guardian of order, challenges her to a duel to punish her for going against the third years and tells her to find a limiter. The ever-striking Kao heard the unbelievable and returned to inform Arthur and Kazuya. Upon hearing about it, Kazuya went out looking for Satellizer in her dorm. When he found her, he asked Satellizer to let him be her partner, but she again refused. Afterwards, Satellizer attacks Ingrid before their match because she believes one must strike the opponent while she is separated from their limiter, so another power fight is on the cards. But if Satellizer thinks she can beat Ingrid without her limiter, she's wrong because it doesn't make her any weaker. In fact, she is much stronger and faster, especially with her Tonfa-like Volt weapon, Divine Trust. Satellizer uses Excel Turn, but Ingrid uses another high-end skill called Tempest Turn that clones herself to beat her up. For the record, Ingrid is ranked 7th in her grade. With Leo coming into the picture, Ingrid once again gives her a chance to find a limiter or else she'll receive straight punishment. Kazuya arrives on the scene and volunteers despite being warned of the consequences by Ingrid. To everyone's surprise, Kazuya uses his powerful freezing ability to stop her even if he hasn't been baptized yet. She thinks she should take him out first, but she was slashed by Satellizer. Kazuya wonders why Ingrid is so obsessed with the order. Conveniently, Gainessa was there to explain. A year ago, before Satellizer transferred here, her grade went on a carnival expedition but was ambushed by a Nova. Due to its sudden appearance, order within the ranks was thrown into chaos. If the first year had not abandoned ship, Marin would have been alive. By the time medics arrive, Nova is suppressed and Marin has died. Ingrid and Leo use freezing on Satellizer, but Kazuya stuns them again by using the omnidirectional freezing that is normally used by Novas. Satellizer takes out Leo and then targets Ingrid. Ingrid activates Pandora mode, which allows Pandoras to move in freezing area without a limiter. She is still obsessed with protecting the order to prevent unnecessary deaths, like Marin. Kazuya using a stronger freezing begs to differ. Though he may not know her well, he believes she did not die in vain. She died while upholding her beliefs as a Pandora. He knows it because he had a sister like that. Gainessa reveals the truth that the first years didn't abandon ship. Marin purposely let them escape because she knew they couldn't win as they were without limiters. Marin stalled for time to let them escape to safety. Ingrid remembers Marin asking her about the first years before her final breath. Thankfully, they were all safe. Ingrid feels guilty for even thinking that her best friend's death was in vain. So in the fight, Kazuya thanks Satellizer for saving him for the second time. Kaho and Arthur find it strange that Kazuya can use freezing even without being baptized. Kazuya himself doesn't know, and all he knew was that he wanted to protect Satellizer. Speaking of which, here comes Satellizer. She wants to have a word with Kazuya. On the rooftop, Satellizer finally accepts Kazuya as her limiter, as she does not feel uncomfortable when he touches her, and he can freeze without performing a baptism. Arthur and Kaho are shocked by this development, and even more so when they learn Satellizer has invited Kazuya into her room tonight. Meanwhile, a new student named Rana Lynchen arrives at West Genetics. As Kazuya, Arthur, and Kaho head to the girls' dormitory, they are confronted by second-year Pandora's Audrey Duval, Tris McKenzie, and Eika Tekuchi, who all lost to the Satellizer at the Battle Royale and want to take it out on Kazuya. Kazuya is pinned down, torturing Arthur and Kaho for interfering in the process. Tris and Kaho fight, but of course, a first year like Kaho is no match for her senior. In anger, Kazuya activates his freezing powers but soon loses consciousness. The bullies plan to leave a scar on his body, but were stopped by Rana. She won't let them harm this kid. Stronger and faster, she teaches those bullies a lesson they won't forget. Informed by what just happened, Satellizer visits the hospitalized Kazuya. As she has a chat with Arthur and a hospitalized Kaho, Rana believes Kazuya is her chosen one, but Arthur and Kaho advise her not to, as Kazuya is the Satellizer's limiter. Kazuya wakes up, with Satellizer sleeping by his side. He apologizes for not making it to her room, but she is okay with it since they spent the night together. Rana is in the same class as Satellizer. She is actually a year older than them, but she held back a year to learn the basics of being a Pandora. She gets straight to telling Satellizer that Kazuya is her destiny man. During a free battle simulation, Rana fights against Gainessa. Rana's Volt weapons are her iron gloves and boots, making her a close combat type. She easily dodges all Gainus's moves and could have dealt the final blow if Yumi hadn't stopped the match. Elsewhere, Arthur and Kaho continue to warn Kazuya not to be with Satellizer after telling him how she was expelled from East Genetics for injuring a potential limiter. Their talk is interrupted by Rana joining them. The duo leaves so they can get better acquainted. Rana gets picky about how Kazuya should call him and starts seducing him. And then Satellizer comes in. She wants to have a word with Kazuya. Obviously, that guy follows her. Later, Atiya tells Rana that Satellizer has not performed a baptism with Kazuya and that she is only using him for his freezing powers. Rana brings Satellizer to a training facility where she challenges her over who should be Kazuya's partner. Because Rana touched her shoulder, she got punched. If that's the way she wants to settle it, so be it. Let the cat fight begin. If Satellizer wins, Rana will never bother them again. If Rana wins, Satellizer breaks up with Kazuya. Both are evenly matched, so Rana activates her Holy Gate Stigmata. This allows her to push her power to the limit, so she becomes stronger and faster both in the short and long ranges. Though Satellizer gets pounded, she uses her double Excel turn and 3 attacks from 3 directions to return the favor. It ends with Satellizer stabbing her sword into Rana's shoulder. But that is where she wants her, so she can use her Burning Fang up close and do serious damage to her ribs and internal organs. Satellizer gets up and claims it's not over. Atiya doesn't like what she sees because these women are more dangerous than expected. After a brutal fight, Kazuya intervenes to clarify to Rana his relationship with Satellizer. Atiya interrupts them, along with 2 other third-year Pandoras, Arnett Macmillan and Creo Brand, who arrive. Atiya reminds them about the hierarchy of this academy, and with Satellizer causing trouble, this won't set a good example for juniors, thus her plan to punish her. She gives her a choice of who she wants to fight, either 4th-ranked Arnett Macmillan, Slashing Trickster, or 5th-ranked Creo Brand, Lightning Hammer. Satellizer will take them both. Kazuya tries to stop them but gets knocked out. Satellizer fights Arnett with her Scythe Machina and gets slashed here and there because her attacks come in opposite directions instead of where she believed they came from. Arnett manages to use her double Excel technique to take advantage of Satellizer, allowing her to slit her neck. Meanwhile, Rana meets her match as Creo beats her up with her Tempest turn. Atiya is willing to take them to the recovery center if they say sorry, but Satellizer refuses to acknowledge defeat or kneel down to anyone. As she tries to remain conscious while the third years argue over what to do with her, Satellizer recalls her mother on her deathbed. Satellizer's mother apologizes to Satellizer for what she has gone through and encourages her to never lose to anyone. Remembering those words, Satellizer stands up, and she emits bright lights like those from the Holy Gate. She is so bloody fast, faster than her double Excel turn, that Arnett takes a beating with a move she barely can see. While Rana gets back up and turns the tables on Creo with her Holy Gate skill of cloning herself to counter Creo's Tempest turn. The result of exerting her Holy Gate makes her cough up blood. Atiya panics upon seeing this nightmare. She is about to do it alone, but Arnett and Creo stand back up to finish the fight. They probably would have another go if Chiffon did not stop them. As Satellizer and Rana bring Kazuya to the hospital, Chiffon meets with Elizabeth Mabley at the swimming pool and tells her to stop targeting Satellizer as it is useless and their peaceful days are about to be over soon. Kazuya wakes up, and the first thing he does is apologize for his uselessness. Satellizer berates him for jumping in without thinking, but actually she's worried he would have been hurt badly. Rana didn't like how Satellizer was making Kazuya feel small. Instead, his bravery is the reason she likes him even more. The West Genetics Academy decides to hold a prom where Satellizer and Rana cross eyes over who will be Kazuya's dancing partner. Kazuya announces he did have intentions to ask Satellizer. Rana admits her loss this time and kisses him on the cheek. Meanwhile, Elizabeth decides to take Chiffon's advice and tells the third years to stop targeting Satellizer, but Atiya still wants to humiliate her. On the night of the prom, Atiya challenges Satellizer to compete in the Pandora Queen Beauty contest, which the latter agrees to out of pride. All the candidates for Pandora Queen go up to the stage and strut their stuff. When Satellizer is about to go on stage, she becomes nervous, but Rana, who is also competing, encourages her to withstand it for the sake of her partner. Despite being shy on stage, her shyness silences the crowd, and she wins the crown. Angry about her loss, Atiya arranges for Satellizer to wear a skimpy outfit that becomes transparent under the spotlight, but Kazuya freezes the crowd so they can escape. Kazuya is being invited to East Genetics as he watches the Academy's #1, Kathy Lockhart, using her quadruple Excel turn to defeat 2 Novas simultaneously. The reason Kazuya was invited was because, as Margaret points out, Kathy is one of the chosen Pandora who inherited a heroic stigmata from his late sister, Kazuya. However, even if Kazuya praises her, she explains that she plans to become a novelist, staying around to graduate. As Kazuya returns home, Sister Margaret reveals that Satellizer also possesses 6 of Kazuya's stigmata but shows little compatibility with them. Kathy reveals to her teacher Milna that the reason she doesn't want to join the Chevalier, the Pandora elite, is because she was there when Satellizer attacked the Playboy limiter when she was still a student at East Genetics, and Satellizer's resolve to never give up no matter how many times Kathy put her down made her scared and realize how weak she was. Just then, East Genetics is attacked by 4 Type S Novas who exhibit abilities that have never been seen before. They used a normal military helicopter to fire missiles into it, but it was useless. The Nova released their power, and the helicopter died for nothing. Due to a shortage of Chevalier, East Genetics is roped in. They did well using the tactics of decoys, strikers, and finishers for the first Nova to expose its core. However, when it was Kathy's turn to finish the job, it was faster than her quadruple Excel turn to stop her from getting close to its core. Then another unprecedented act. The Nova fires a high-energy beam, which shocks the trio as they watch their student get killed. Meanwhile, Satellizer overhears Kazuya talking with Arthur and Kaho, believing that Kazuya only chose her because she reminded him of his sister. Back to the student, chaos and madness are what are left on the battlefield. The Nova made another unprecedented move by grabbing Kathy with its tentacles. More accurately, it is trying to fuse the stigmata of Kathy and the other Pandoras by neutralizing their volt texture. Kathy tries to use her quadruple Excel turn, but it is futile and she gets swallowed. All the Novas suddenly disappeared. They appear close to West Genetics and are surrounding it. With the 4th years deployed to East Genetics and too far away to help them, Kim and Elise lead the remaining 4th years to the front lines while the rest of West Genetics Pandoras and Limiters are ordered to guard the academy. As the Pandoras take position near the Novas, they see one of them suddenly growing a tumor. Actually, they are the East Genetic Pandoras it absorbed. However, they have become possessed zombies under its command. Each of them has a diamond-shaped stigmata formed on their chest, something Margaret recognizes and fears is the Nova form. These Pandoras bypass the defense and head straight to the academy grounds. Miyabi laments that she has to watch the gates, but soon she'll have to eat her words because the Nova form Pandoras bust their way in. They ignore Miyabi, but when she attacks, she gets blasted away for good. Meanwhile, Satellizer is angry that Kazuya sees her only as a replacement for his sister and is about to engage in a fight with Rana. But they are called by Sister Margaret to defend the underground Ravensbourne nucleoched facility, which holds the body of Maria Lancelot, the first and mother of Pandoras. A small group of Nova forms, led by Kathy and Milna, breach the underground facility. They are so fast that the shutting walls could barely contain them. Due to the several security layers, they are trapped in an area as the command center releases some gas to disarm them. The walls are even hard enough that they're blades, but they regenerate. However, the joy is short-lived when they blast a beam, destroying the walls. 2 of the 4 Novas have been destroyed. So long and so much destruction just to take out half the numbers. Margaret reminds the Ravensbourne defending Pandoras about defending it at all costs, because if it falls into the enemy's hands, they will have nothing to research to stop the Novas. As the Nova forms head towards the Ravensbourne nucleoched, Ingrid, Atia, Creo, and Arnett attempt to stop them. Unfortunately, their limiters got taken out and a couple got through. But Margaret wants them to stand their ground and keep the rest from advancing, as there are other lines of defense. The second line of defense is Elizabeth and Andre, her limiters. Elizabeth's stigmata satellite system demonstrates that one is able to turn those girls back to normal without killing them by destroying the stigmata. With this information, the rest pummel the other Nova form Pandoras and destroy the enemy's stigmata. However, Kathy unleashes a move that blasts a big hole in the ground and right down to the final defense at the bottom, where Satellizer and the others are. The first thing Kathy did was pierce her blades into Rana's shoulder blade. Still, Rana is strong enough to break free, but Kathy's blade regenerates. Gainessa thought she could help by covering Rana but ended up a liability because she can't use Excel turn. Rana had to cover her ass or else she would end up as a casualty. Kazuya's freezing enables Rana to avoid the same fate. Rana runs out of steam and collapses. Gainessa got so scared that she passed out. Now it's Satellizer's turn to do some serious butt kicking. She insists she doesn't need Kazuya, not only because she isn't his sister's replacement, she has a score to settle with Kathy. Satellizer takes a beating when she can't match Kathy's speed, but she wouldn't lose or give in. This means she still wants Kazuya to stay out. Getting back up, Satellizer uses a high-speed move, no interval double Excel to damage the stigmata without destroying it. This temporarily brings Kathy's consciousness back, but the stigmata starts suppressing it against her will. Satellizer again uses no interval double Excel but finds she can't keep up with Kathy's speed. As Kathy prepares a finishing blow to Satellizer, Kazuya summons up all of his freezing abilities to stop Kathy and tells Satellizer how important she is to him, which makes the latter realize how much Kazuya cares about being her partner. Kathy breaks free of Kazuya's freezing and temporarily in her normal self, begs Satellizer to stop her before her Nova Stigma takes control again. Meanwhile, Atia and the others rush back to Elizabeth. She seems to have miscalculated her aim because, when she let her guard down, Milna got up, defeated Elizabeth, and finally arrived at the facility where Maria's body was being held. It's not that the chamber is left totally unguarded. Chiffon and Ticey are there to keep Milna company. Meanwhile, Kathy unleashes a powerful blast at Satellizer, but Gainasa uses her body to shield her. The blast was so devastating that Gainasa's arm got ripped off. Arthur, who is Gainasa limiter, is hysterical that his beloved Gainasa is dead. Traumatized by Gainasa's death, who considers Satellizer her comrade, Satellizer goes berserk and turns into Nova form. So fast, so powerful, so full of rage that she blocked every move Kathy struck. She was so angry that she tore off both of Kathy's arms. So pissed off, she ripped the stigmata out of her chest. Free from Nova control, Kathy begs Satellizer to kill her, but she is stopped by Kazuya, who manages to hold her back and calm her, which turns her back to normal. Kathy wonders why she didn't kill her, so Satellizer replies that she doesn't want to disappoint Kazuya, as he has taught her an important lesson about those who bear the stigmata and the sole purpose of a Pandora. Gainasa is still alive, and Milna is defeated. The Pandoras believe it is over, but the last remaining Nova uses Milna's stigma as a beacon to teleport into the Ravensborn nucleotide, forcing Satellizer, Rana, Ingrid, Cleo, Arnett, Atia, Elizabeth, Chiffon, and Ticey to fight it. However, Nova uses Kathy's infected stigma to infect Satellizer into a Nova form and uses her to cast a powerful freezing ability to stop the Pandoras as it goes after Maria's body. The real Satellizer is sitting alone within herself, pleading with Kazuya for help. Kazuya uses freezing on her and says he believes in her. Satellizer meets Kazuya, who tells her to protect her precious people because she has the stigmata to do that. She gets extra power to break free from her Nova form as the stigmata itself breaks, which finally allows the Pandoras to finish off the Nova. After recovering and returning to East Genetics, Kathy, influenced by both Kazuya and Satellizer's ideals, tells Milna that she decided to join the Chevalier and still be a novelist. Kazuya and his friends visit Gainasa recuperating in the hospital. Her arm is patched back thanks to her stigmata, as is the case with Kathy. Surprisingly, Satellizer also pays a visit, as she thanks her for protecting her then. In the epilogue, Sister Margaret has a talk with the Professor AI over the stigmata as a double-edged sword, but he warns the fight with the Nova is far from over. The anime ends here. Thank you for watching till the end, and please don't forget to subscribe.